Hi, and welcome to Phoenix Signal Podcast with me, your host, Lou Lawson. Hi, and welcome to this episode of Phoenix Signal Podcast. And if you remember, or you haven't listened to the last one, it was about anxiety and my own experience and journey. Apologies to those that found it quite deep, but I think it's important to share how some of us experience anxiety. This one is relating to medication and some of the things that they don't necessarily tell you when you're taking them. So again, this may be a bit triggering for some people, but I just wanted to share something that I found whilst taking the medication. Now, firstly, I just want to say that taking anxiety meds, well, actually, they were antidepressant medication. They don't actually call them anti-anxiety meds. They were brilliant, and I'm not going to disrespect them whatsoever because they massively helped me in a way that they really needed to help me. They say that they take time, but the time that they take to take effect is different for everybody. So by about week 3, I was thinking these don't work for me, like nothing's really happening. And then it just really spiraled really quickly in a good way, in the sense that actually I really started to notice things very differently. I felt much better. I felt in a really good place. So I'm not going to say that they're bad. I am going to say that they are a massive plaster, but a plaster for a good reason. But I don't want to sound like I'm not judging anybody that's on medication, because I took them and they're bloody brilliant. What I would suggest is, if you are on medication, seek alternative support whilst you're on them. And the reason for that is, what we tend to find is, as our bodies get used to being on the medication, you need to increase the dosage, because at some point your body becomes so used to what it's taking that it then needs more of the goodness coming in. And the way you can do that is by your own resources. And whilst you're on the medication, what a great time to just work with those. So that could be a coach, or it could be the therapies. I do talking therapies, but the great thing about the therapies I do is I do all the talking, you just do the processing. That will be another podcast at some point. So the first thing is, great if you go on them. I completely understand why you've gone on them, and they are really beneficial. What they don't tell you is, well, what they do tell you is they take time. And time is different for everybody. People think they pop a pill and it's just going to work immediately. Well, I'm telling you now, it really doesn't. You need to persevere with it. And when you do start taking them, what's really frustrating is the fact that one of the biggest side effects is you could feel suicidal. And I'm just going to say, don't stop the medication. And well, obviously you might need to seek GP support. But what I would say to you is try and persevere. Like, look at what the symptoms are, what's happening, talk to your GP about what's happening. Because strangely enough, it has to do that in order to start working. And it sounds really, really strange, I know, and I can't really explain it, but please try and persevere with your GP's advice. And then a few weeks later into the medication, I suffer with restless leg anyway, which I'm hoping to do some of my techniques with that, actually, to see if I can just get through that. But oh my fucking God, did it get worse once I was on these medications. Literally, like, I could normally, it was if I was tired or had been concentrating on something so much that my brain was just exhausted. This was a case of my left leg just wanted to just wander and do. Thankfully, it's not painful. It's just frustrating because it just wants to walk somewhere and just wants to do something that I just don't want to do. I just want to relax. And it's just like, no, let's go somewhere. So that's something, massive to share with you. Of course, read the side effects. What tends to happen when we read the side effects is, the moment we think we've got that side effect, we then encourage that side effect, which sounds really weird, doesn't it? It's a bit like, if you feel sick, you think about feeling sick, so therefore you are sick, as in you feel sick. It's just a complicated. We're just complicated people, right? That's just what we are. That's the reality. The biggest thing for me that isn't in the side effects is the night dreams. So I could, and when I say night dreams, I should really say nightmares. Um, the nightmares were horrific. And I mean to the point that I could give Stephen King or whoever does whatever horror movies out there a run for their bloody money, because honestly, some of them I just that they say that your dreams are things that you've come across or you've seen or experiences. Well, fuck knows where I've seen half of these things, because oh my God, they were horrific. I mean, trigger warning, boiling bodies are just being chased by various people, trying to be killed by people, trying to run around with a machete in my hand, um, swiping at people. You know, I have not, okay, some of those might have been on the news actually with machete and people, but me, no. So this is all in my dreams, and I'm so thankful that I am fully aware of what was reality and what wasn't, because you could easily become psychotic if you don't have the awareness and the additional support. So I'm not saying this to scare anybody. I just want to be honest, because everyone's experience of medication is different. I was on sertraline, however you bloody say it. And I was on apparently the lowest dosage, which I'm very thankful for. The other thing is that for me was the worst bit. The next bit was the bloody hunger. So I just wanted to eat, and eat and eat and eat. So now I do have a few pounds that I do need to shed, which I will get onto at some point. I just need to get my studies finished, and then that's sorted. But yeah, it is that, you know, for some people it's not eating, and that's well, I mean, as in they don't have the hunger. But yeah, the hunger, I mean, I just wanted to eat everything and anything, and everything looked really good. Which food is good, but it's having the right sort of food. So I think there are just so many different variants of being on this medication, and it could be positive, it could be negative. But I think the night terrors is probably one that they don't tend to share with you. And I really want to share that, because actually there's a few people that I've spoken to who actually transpires they too have nightmares, and they could be the same reoccurring nightmare, they could be different nightmares. But it's not until you use Google, which, you know, we try and say to people, don't Google symptoms. But it was not until you Google that it actually transpires that this is a blooming side effect. And it is a fucking horrific side effect that I wouldn't wish on anybody. As I said at the very start of this, though, the medication can work wonders. You know, it was amazing. Like, I felt good, I felt calm, I felt relaxed, just these little bits and pieces. But I knew that I didn't want to stay on them forever. And what I did and still continue to do is doing those varying techniques that I have, be it therapies, be it hypnotherapy, be it EFT, be it coaching. I have other things to help me, because the reality is, to help us get through life, sometimes we just need different things. And, you know, doing it whilst you're well, it can be hard to know, is it the medication or is it the therapies? Well, I can tell you, coming off medication, the medication massively helped, but now that I'm off them, I can see how the therapies help me when I can feel myself going into a bit of an anxiety spin, when I notice those thoughts or those bodily sensations, and I use them, and I am now an advocate. Obviously, with being a therapist as well, you know, I'm going to promote them, but having that experience myself, we can do so much for ourselves, but sometimes we just need that support just to help us along the way. So I'm just hoping, again, as I always say, that I hope that this has just helped anybody that is taking the anxiety medication. Remember, the anxiety is not you. It is a little bugger that's outside of you that's trying to creep in and be an absolute bitch for your life. Anyway, if there's any questions, as always, any questions, feel free to just pop me a message and we can arrange a chat at any point. But I do hope that this just helps somebody that's on medication, that thinks, what is happening for me here? I don't recognize this. I can't see this as a side effect in the leaflet. So my top tips: persevere if you can, but seek support from your GP if you have concerns around what you're feeling and thinking in the early stages. Night terrors are an absolute thing, okay? And seek other therapies whilst you are on these medications because they do help. They really do. They do help. And I long for the day where, you know, they're just a given now. They just automatically happen, some of the habits and techniques that I have. So highly recommend it. And I do know a great therapist who may be able to help. So feel free to get in touch. So thank you for this and till the next one, which I haven't planned yet, but till the next one.